This time we are. I think we're good. I think we're good. Okay, so long story short, I've known Rachel for a very long time. I knew her as someone that drew stuff. That she said she was going to get into editing, and about 2 years ago, I got my hands on a novel of hers she was working on, and I was one of the people beta
That's
reading it.
good. Yeah.
Right, and I remember I gave her some interesting notes. I have not seen the final product, so I do not know what advice she took from mine or what where she thought I was full of crap. But but
You're
hey,
the first to tell that to you if that's the case.
well, no, well, it's like
Very
anything
kind
else,
for my
right?
beta.
It's like anything else. Like not everything I'm saying is like when you're giving feedback to somebody, especially on a beta read, right?
Yeah.
There are some technical things that have, like, I remember one point in particular I made, I hope you really worked on because I think it would have added to the authenticity of the story you were telling. So I'm hoping there was one big point I thought you needed to work on. The rest of it is just my goddamn opinion, right? And you'd be like, this is cool. You're full of crap. I'm okay. This is good. You're full of crap. Right. And that's a part of the process. Like
I
I don't
never
like,
think that one.
yeah, right. Well, I'm just being honest, right? So that's the good stuff. So we're gonna get the bad stuff out of the way. So I had a weird day. Like I had a really weird day. So you might be my therapist here a little bit. So that's okay. So I'm going. So I'm trying to get some extra money up to help pay rent. Like I learned the hard way this month that most of my money now, as of right this minute, comes in the middle of the month, and I didn't get anything at the end of the month I hoped. So I had to scramble.
Oh,
But no, that's not the sad part. Sad part is actually, so I get a phone call from my storage locker yesterday. We need you to come in. It's like, okay. So I come in. So what's going on? Well, it turns out that a whole bunch of storage lockers got broken into, including mine. So yeah. So
yikes.
I'm missing three. So I'm missing three comic book long boxes I did that weren't there, but are no longer there. I have like a pile of
Oh,
comic books I'm going to sell anyway. It in a weird way, yeah. So I that was my afternoon. So yeah, so that was my afternoon, and I got plenty of long boxes still, and it's not like it's. I highly doubt it's going to happen again because it's one of those things where it's just like. But I mean, it's one time in 4 years. But like yeah, can't believe my storage locker's been there for 4 years, and I've been gradually like. There might have been other things stolen, but here's the thing: I've been purging that storage locker anyway. So with everything else, they might have actually done me a favor. I'm not entirely sure because I'd have to go look at everything that was taken, but essentially it was three long boxes. So yeah, and then so that was my day today. So I have to tomorrow. I have to go make a phone call to the insurance company. Right, they'll probably cut me some kind of check for that. Right, but
so
to what extent I don't know, right? I don't. So it's kind of one of those things where it was just like it was a weird day, and I have to be an
yeah,
adult tomorrow, and then I work tomorrow, I work Sunday, then I'm trying to
yeah,
balance that, putting together other things for my client as well. It's like I got a big, so yeah, it was a weird. It's been a weird week, like all the way through.
yeah. I mean, it could have something to do with year. I don't know. Sometimes it's like more stressful towards the. I don't know. Some people get that pressure of like, oh, I should be doing all these things. I don't know. And the plan, there's a bunch of retrogrades right now, so
I
that
I,
can.
I, I yeah. Sorry.
Although I'm not an expert on that, so anything more. I just know that there are retrogrades, and the planets are affecting each other. So, which, of course, it has to affect us. We're on this. It has
Yeah.
to affect us.
But yeah, no, it's just like I said, it's just my turn. It's just my turn to get a bumpy ride right now, and that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, the middle of the month looks good. I mean, the middle of the month looks like I'm going to be, I'll be okay. And then, like, if all goes, it works to plan. I'm going to be very comfortable at the end of the year. Like the next 2 weeks are going to suck, but it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. So yeah.
That's such an interesting, because I'm going through the transition. I'm now trying to edit and write. I still
Mm-hmm.
have very part time job at the care home, so I'm working graveyard shift, right? So I'm transitioning into like now leaning more on my creativity to like bring in value, and I'm not used to that. I really am not. I'm so used to the comfort and security of having a job that's like it's right there. It might not be what time, but it's right there and it's easy access to money. And I've been like, I noticed, I was like, oh my God, I spend so much money on coffee, like going to shops and like eating there, drinking their coffee. And I love the environment of coffee, but I'm like, I'm now my that transition is really starting to take. I don't want to change it. Like I don't want to work more at the care home and have less time for creative output. But at the same time, I'm like, it has to be this like shift, right? This and a sacrifice of certain things, I guess. Maybe sacrifice isn't the greatest word, but like just a shift in perspective of like, okay, what is necessary for my life and what is just like, something like coffee every
Well,
day.
that's just it, right? There really, when you get down to like purely necessities, there really isn't a lot. But it's about what you can live with, though, right? So where are you in your headspace? So when I started freelancing, the very first thing that was in my head for about the first year was, I don't want to fuck this up because I don't want to go back, right?
Right.
That was the first. That was the first part of it for me. And then I realized that that's the wrong mentality to take. Actually, the right mentality is, as dumb as it is, all the ups and downs, I'm going to make it. I'm going to go through the ups, the downs, and what's happened this year is, for me, at like year's end, I broke 5 figures as a creative, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's not a small feat, but at the same time, it's not a living wage yet. It's not a small feat.
Yeah.
I came within an inch of having it being a living wage right now. Like literally right now, I was at the door, and 2 of my contracts pulled out into the new year. And that's the other thing too. With the whole freelancing thing, I find it's a giant filtration process until you build your water wheel. And what I realized for me is and this is just growing pains, is I got to figure out when my money is going to come in. I have to budget according to when my money comes in, do things accordingly, and go on and just keep going. And it's interesting, but again, it's a process, and also in the process, I'm getting rid of a lot of the things. Like I have a box of books right over there. Some of it's my friends, some of it's people I love. I cannot keep them, and some of them I'm never going to read because it's just, I only have so much time now, and I'm looking at the people I really like. I want to support. I want like that kind of thing. That's a very different group now.
Yeah.
And so like that's it. Like it's funny. It's going to be like, I'm going to have probably something like 60 books, and that's probably going to be it for me for the foreseeable future, and I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take, I still have something like 21 long boxes filled with comics in there. So I mean, it shows you like they barely dented me. They barely dented me when they did that, which is frightening. That's kind of frightening. But at the same time, no.
Like, do you know which it was? No.
For all, so, no, I don't. Like they've been there for 4 years. I know some of the ones they didn't take. Well, they made, like, it's the thing, right? I put them in this pile for 4 years. I couldn't tell you the order. I couldn't tell you. Like I literally couldn't. So there's 3 blonde boxes missing. So there's only 1 long box. Like I can forgive everything else. There's 1 I don't want them to touch. The rest, I don't care as much. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to make, so with my video games, my books, my music, my DVDs, all that stuff, I'm just purging all of that stuff. I don't care if I make a ton of money on it or not. But at the same time, when I get to my comics, that's eBay. That's I'm actually going to be dealing with people, and I'm going to try to actually get something for my investment. I won't get the full what they're worth, but if I can get 50 to 70% of what they're worth, I'll make a pretty good killing. Right? I'll make a pretty good killing by and large. So that's where I'm at. Right. And I'm almost at the point where I'm going to be selling my comics pretty exclusively, probably for about 3-4 months. And I mean, it's going to take about that to narrow it down. And once it's narrowed down, it's just like, and then by the time that's all done, I should be just about ready to get on out of here and start going on the road.
You're going to go on the road?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to travel? Are you going to get an RV?
Something like that.
Oh, that is cool.
Something like that.
That's like a dream.
Well, it's something like that. I'm looking at it realistically. Like life is too short, man. It's just too short. So I figure by the time the springtime rolls around next year, the economy, there's going to be opportunities to grab vehicles, even used ones, right? It may not be the big RV of my dreams, but it might be one of those soccer mom-ish vans. I don't really care, right? The point is, like I came back to Calgary to hang out with people. That has not happened. So if I can't have adventures here with people I care about, I'm going to go out there, have adventures, and find people I care about. It's that simple to me.
Yeah. It's been a weird few years. A lot of people in the last 3 years, like I find this kind of shift for me. It's been 3 years, right? It'll be in March that the pandemic hit Canada. Yeah, I think a lot changed what was what their priorities were.
Sure.
I know I lost some friendships. Some of my decision. Others were just a slow, resolve.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Relationships, and I think that, I think it's so challenging even as an adult to hang on to friendships, and then you put on being told, you're not supposed to engage with those people because they're not in your immediate circle. That's just that was so detrimental. I remember when that came out, and this, we don't have to talk for a long, I'm sure you've talked to lots of people. I remember when requirements or whatever they were called, I remember what they're called. I left that part of my brain memories, just I'll let go of those terms of COVID. But when we were told you're allowed to be in contact with this many people, I was like, this is going to be so detrimental for connection and for the way that we view each other. And it happened. It happened, even though I had an awareness of that. I had an awareness of this is good of my friendships, and it still happens to me. It's not like you can have an awareness and affect you. It affected everybody, and so I think it's been a really challenging 3 years in that regard, for friendships, for intimacy, for relationships. Well, at least for me, it's challenging for me.
Well, it's funny because I think it's a very uniquely Canadian thing, I think, in one sense, in that I think we have a tendency to be more obedient than other countries are, right? I just look at what's going on in the States, for example, in those regards. And I know for a fact, I can even say it here, some people just said, fuck the rules. Because, again, what is this about? And I mean, and I understand that. Again, I'm not here to criticize anybody. If you made a decision to stick to yourself because you didn't want to risk getting infected or whatever the case may be, I get it. But also there's a flip side too. I also understand people that said, you know what, I want to be with the people I love in this time, because I get that too. I totally get that.
Exactly.
Right. So, well, it goes both ways, right? Here's the thing. If you're okay, for example, I know this for a fact, if you're an elderly person in a home, right? They don't give a shit about the COVID precautions. They don't got long left anyway, right?
Oh, in perspective. Yeah, they didn't. Most
Yeah,
of
they don't get
most of them didn't know one or didn't
Mhm.
care, and it actually ended up creating it there in a lot of ways. Of course, that population is more vulnerable to and to viruses. What it was a trade-off. So I saw firsthand in care home, the trade-off was depression. The
Oh yeah.
trade-off was people. So people still pass, and especially at that age, like past your 80s, you know, you either give up and you stop eating, or you know, emotionally, like mentally, you're just like done, and your body is the only thing. But you know, most people didn't even understand it. And I remember the elderly I was caring for, I said, like, for you to not see your family right now, and they didn't even know what I'm talking about. And then they were like eventually I explained it enough, and then they were like, oh, like this is not. I've been through wars. I've been through like actual, you know, actually things that are like toward their families, really like, you know. So there wasn't much. There wasn't. It was harder for the people who weren't able to see their family members in the care home. That, and of course they did
No.
everything.
Like, well, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like, so what killed me, like personally, I was in Windsor. My grandmother's in Detroit. The
Yeah.
border's closed,
Yeah.
so I couldn't see her. I couldn't.
Mhm.
It ate at me big time, and her too, right? And she didn't give a shit. You know, where she was born in Malta. When she was born, she woke up to bombs every day for like years of her, for the first few years of her life. So I mean, in comparison, I mean, they would look at
Yeah.
us, right? They're like, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? So if you took the perspective of, I want to see my family in this time, and that's what matters to me, I get it.
Yeah.
If you decided
Yeah.
that you wanted to stay away from people during this time, I also get it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
there's a right or a wrong answer, on this one. What I will say though is, yeah, no, it changed all of us. Like, it sure did. For me, it made me bolder. There's like
Made you
good,
bold.
yeah. Well, yeah. Like, here's the thing: you're not gonna be on. Like, I take I'm more like the elderly person in this sense. Is you're not gonna be on this planet for very long.
Yeah.
And this idea that that look, if I am going to not make it through this, I would at
Yeah.
least like to know that I was around people that I love. I don't want to be alone in a time like that. I think that's
Yeah.
actually the worst thing you can do to somebody. Um,
Mhm.
that's it, right? And now I've come out of this again. So there's 10% of people who are going to be forever marked by this for various reasons, and then I'm in the other 10% that just got bolder, braver. It's like, fuck it, life's too short. And then there's the remaining 80% that kind of is adjusting their equilibrium, however it's going to
Yeah.
be. So I get that to some degree, but I also like okay, I came back to Calgary. I figured there's some people I could help. I've seen some. I'm not saying I haven't seen nobody, but at the same time, like I kind of like I think the biggest lesson I took from being in the city at this time, because I've tried even with meeting new people, and it's all kind of come out to the same result. So it's just like, if I am not going to meet people, interact with people I really want to interact with here,
Mhm.
why stick around?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Why
Hmm.
stick around? And why wait?
Connection. That's a big value of yours. It sounds like is that
Right?
you
Yeah.
connect is important to you, and I mean, have it, then you're lacking some purpose. So it makes sense then to be around the people you love. And
Yeah.
and there's also, and I know this as a creative person, I really people that help me expand, like, create more and experience and learn things. Like I find that very, very healing and very invigorating. And like you can't expect it all the time, but you can choose to put yourself in situations where you meet more people like that, right? That are like
Yeah, absolutely.
they want they want to create this community consistency. They want, you know, they want creative input. They want the criticism of like, or the critical feedback. we were talking about getting beta reading book. Like, I want, so you have to really literally put yourself into that place of this is where to be. Otherwise, it just won't happen. You're right. Life will just it'll just chug along, and you'll just be doing the same thing over and over again.
Well, yeah, that's just it, right? So I'm looking at it like this. I'm here now, but from what it seems like anyway, like that, like, okay, no one wants to. All right. So then why stick? I look at it that simply that, like, I'm going to do the things in life I want. That's it.
Yeah.
Life's too short. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's it. And I'm not going to wait or expect. Again, you gotta do. And again, to everybody out there that's listening to say it is in Calgary, it's not personal. I've certainly tried, but for whatever reason, if the ones I've tried, you guys do not want to, I respect
Yeah.
that. I'm going to give you your distance because that's what you want, right? And that's it,
Yeah. What else?
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, and there's lots of people I've met in the last few years on this platform, right? So why not go see them?
Yeah. Definitely. Oh yeah. That like have all of their people on Instagram. Most of their people through whether it's through our collaborations or just like someone dropping in the DMs and being like, "Hey, I really like what you admire it," like, or trading services. I don't know. Like, there's so many. There's so many ways to meet people through social media. That's how, and it seems especially for you too, because you talk to so many people, creatives all day long.
Yeah, by and large, yeah. Like this month's different because I'm building a show for somebody and other things, but also December tends to be a bit of a slowdown month for me. But even so, no, it's something again, life is short,
Yeah.
and I look at it and that's it. It's like, what do I want to do? And that's all I'm worried about at this point is what do I want to do? And if I'm lucky, find people that want to do some of the same things I do, and that's it. I mean, there's nothing. What else is there in this life, really, when you break it right down?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, back to you had asked. Oh, you had mentioned something about. Oh yeah, that COVID made you bolder. That's funny. I had kind of a similar reaction in the beginning of it because it felt really but then I ended up reflecting a lot. It gave me room to really, because I had really been going so hard. Like, I was working, I was doing art part time, I was doing markets, I was still writing, trying to write. There were so many things I wanted to do. There's still lots of things I wanted to do, but a lot more focus because I had everything slowed down. I had to reflect more, and it was actually interesting because when I went to England for a month in 2020, it was right before the pandemic hit Canada. I've been busy, like just like I got to do more, just like reality of like I got to be accomplishing, right? I actually just wrote a newsletter about this, and that gave me a lot of perspective because I really slowed down. And then when I came back, I was like, oh, it's still going to be, oh my God. So I actually had to get used to that. And then to be like, hey, I can only focus on so much as a human. I have all of these desires, a lot of creative energy and a lot of like stuff going on in my head here. But I was like, what do I really truly want to be doing? What is it that I'm really wanting to like face and accomplish? And what are some of my biggest fears? And of course, it all came back to writing.
For you, yeah.
I was like, span the most writing. How can I?
Well,
Because I could do art, but like art is something I love to do, but like it's never been something I crave to do where I like really need to really. This is more of like a fun thing, right? And it's so, right? Like, but so that time really helped me to like focus in on exactly what I wanted to do, get this book out there, um, start books because I'm writing other books too, get my fantasy world building manual out there. Like a lot of stuff is, but that because of that reflection, I feel like I can appreciate it so much more versus before I was like, okay, what's the next thing? Okay, next thing. Okay, next thing. Where is the next art going? Okay, the next, writing meeting I'm gonna what who are the next friends I'm gonna hang out with? It was just this constant like push, and I think maybe it was important for me at the time. I'm really grateful that I slowed down and was able to be like, this is what I want to pursue. I'm almost 35. I want to be doing this at my age. Like this is where I want to be.
So this was my
Super
second.
stoked.
So this was my second apocalypse. Not my right, like
Yeah.
my first. This is my second one. So the first one
I know you.
is where a lot. Yeah, I've said that to people. Some people, when I say that today, they look at me kind of funny. It's like, what do you mean it's your second? Because my first one was a very personal one. And a lot of what you said describes the first time you have that face-to-face conversation, look at your own mortality, right? When you're no longer distracted, like in any crisis you have, the big thing is, eventually, sooner or later, you got to have a little one-on-one with yourself. You have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it because that's all it's there. At the end of the day, when you're going through your worst moments, it's basically it's you and God. That's pretty much it, right? And so, right, so that's it, right? So you got to kind of have and you can't hide. Like this is you looking at you in the mirror. So that's a hard thing for a lot of people to really wrap their heads around.
I feel like all my life, but anyways, keep going.
Yeah, but people get distracted all the time, right? So it's like, okay, like something what you mentioned about your purpose and focusing and narrowing and paring down because you get so caught up in life, you don't have to actually think about what's good for you, right? And that's that's it. So that's the first apocalypse. My second one, it was like, okay, this one's annoying. And that's literally where it was, is like, this one's annoying. Not because, again, I don't trying to feel sorry. From a personal standpoint, I still want to do things. I released 3 books during the pandemic. Like, it's like, yeah. So, yeah, I released 3 books. I've done nearly 400 episodes of this podcast, right? Actually, I've done more than that, about 500 episodes. So it's like, I did stuff during the pandemic. And because, again, I had the focus. Like I had the focus. The big thing about the second time around is, if anything, I went deeper out of my comfort zone than I did the first time. Right. That was the difference. And that's great. Like again, you take those times to learn, discover, acquire new skills. I've acquired a ton of. I'm compared to where I was 3 years ago. I am way more skilled now than I was in pretty much every department. But again, that's the fear of like the focus, the fears, those confrontations with yourself. Kind of already went through it once the first time. This time it was like, okay, what can I do to come out of my comfort zone a little bit and grow in this time? That was the thing for me the second time around. It made me more focused because again, now it's like, well, I need even less because it is what it is, and that's the reality of the situation. Is like, okay, but that's the thing, right? Everybody that goes through this had to face their mortality, had to look at themselves in the mirror and figure out what they really wanted. I had that already. So for me, it was like, okay, what skills can I acquire now that makes me more valuable in whatever I do? And like I said, reflection again. If I look at it from this year, like last year to this year, and this year hopefully into next year, I'm going to keep growing. That's the whole idea. Is I'm going to keep growing and evolving. But it looks like I am moving completely away from what was familiar to me before. So I'll see where it leads me, you know?
Well, the thing is, when you're open to a word that comes from to me is expansion, right? Like growth. You don't know necessarily where it's going to lead, but that openness is what brings in the newness, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just like there's so many things you had mentioned, like skills. There's so many things I've learned from self-publish. Like, I was apprehensive to self-publish this book. I'd always thought that I would just publish it, and I still want to, but I knew going into this I would learn so many skills. And I've learned so much. Like, I learned to do interior book design, which I fucking love. It's so good. I've learned book cover design. I don't by any means think that I am perfect at it, but I have learned skills of like what it takes to design the layout and to use topography to the point where like it draws, like all those things I've learned how to put Amazon. And someone was saying me the other day, oh my God, that's like so much work. That's such a big thing. And I was like, yeah, but I feel like it because I like it. And like, I love things and I love being creative. So if I can do that, I just grab onto it. Right. And now I know those things and I can actually help. I can, first of all, share that knowledge and I can help my clients, my future editing clients. Hey, this is like the knowledge that I have. I already have quite a bit of knowledge about the traditional publishing world. Now I have this knowledge about self-publishing, and like it does take a lot of work, of course, but if you're committed to the work, you like it and you love to thrive under that pressure of learning things. I have so much more now that I look back on. I'm like, I'm great, right? Like me as a person, I'm like, this is just helping me grow. And that's what I want. I really want to grow and learn and like and be able to share. I feel like I'm now at the point where I want a lot more and I'm waiting for that to happen a little bit, like people that I can share this with, right? Happening, it's happening.
Okay. So I'm going to ask a question.
Sure.
Why do you want traditionally published still? I'm is there a specific
I
reason?
want, yes. So the reason is this is solidified even more for me now, publishing route, because I really want a team behind me. I really want creative output from other people. And I do have that to a certain extent, but it's a lot of things on my own. And I really think, and I think in order to get, I think because I want a bigger reach, especially in the queer community, and I think traditional publishing will really help me to reach with my readership. And of course, I'm going to continue to self-publish. Like I will. I've self-published this book. I really, really wanted to get it out there. I really wanted to share. I've written, 5 books in the past, and I'm at the point where I'm like, I really want to just. I know that sharing it at my craft stronger and is going to make me a better writer because I'm going to get feedback. I'm going to, my readership is a lot more. I should already know those things, but you know what? You learn as you go. should have had some art career. I didn't. Oh, well, no, I will do it. But yeah, so traditional, it's not that I think that self-publishing, I think they're both very valid. I do not fall, this is better, that's not better. I want that team behind me, and I want a team that's like, we really believe in your storytelling. Let's make it better. And I think that I know that one of my weaknesses, I'm getting better at being really open and vulnerable about it because I think it'll help me to get better at it. I'm not great at marketing. Like I'm doing the best that it does not come easily to me. It is not something that I'm like, I love this so much. It's not. I can do it.
So I want to keep going down the traditional publishing route because I think I know where you probably should look, where you probably should.
Yeah.
But I want to go down the marketing thing. So what's so hard about you for marketing?
It's the I think it's the constant being online for me. because well, no, I already know that. I'm very comfortable and I'm at my best creative mode. So when I'm brainstorming, when I'm writing, when I'm in the midst of creating, I'm very much something I've realized in the last few weeks. I'm this little mouse that skitters behind the scenes and like I'm doing stuff. I'm like I don't really love being seen while I'm doing things. So marketing is teaching me that I have to put myself out there. I have to like stop being the mouse for a little bit and be the performer on the stage, not just skittering behind the curtain. That's how I but yeah, so what was I saying with that? So it's more comfortable for me. Yes, I want to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I think it's important for me to do. I just know that like my strength is, and will I get better at it? Yes. Am I willing to get better at it? Yes. Would it still be helpful for me to have a team supporting me? Absolutely. It'll make me even a stronger writer in that sense. I'm not relying on that. I'm not going to be like, oh, do 2 weeks of marketing and then like I know that I need to be content with it. Social media is something that I do not gravitate towards easily. I have a strange relationship with it. I have the scrolling syndrome where it's like I'll just scroll distracted. So it's something that I actually prefer not to be on. I know that it's been very, very hard, of course, with my book marketing, but that I really have to be mindful of and putting into because I can just get sucked dry by it. So, so that's part of my in the marketing department. But I am willing to get better at it and learn for sure. I'm not going to like cut myself off from it.
No. It also could just be approach. Like you might be someone that gravitates better at like events, for example, like conventions and things like that, where you meet people. I'm just like marketing isn't just social. I mean, don't get me wrong, social media is a tool for marketing, but it's not the only way to market, right? Right?
Yes.
You can do other things to kind of. So I'm doing my first ever Kickstarter early next year. I'm hoping it's early next year. For example, one of the ways I'm going to market this is if I get 200 backers. I have the number in my head. If I get 200 backers, I'm going to do a live karaoke thing just for the backers.
Nice.
Right? It's good marketing, right? And
if I get marketing.
No, it is great marketing, right? Because it's fun, it's inclusive, it's a fun little experience for anyone that wants to be part of this. And yeah, you get to choose 9 of the 10 songs I butcher on the air. Right? That's
awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be 10 songs. I already know one of the songs is going to be "Carry On Wayward Son" by Kansas. That's the one I'm choosing. Everybody else, everybody else gets to choose. I'll actually rehearse them. I will actually legitimately rehearse them. I'm going to put actually a real effort into it. But again, now notice I haven't talked a damn thing about the book. I've done any of that stuff. I'm just saying if I will do this cool thing, if you all jump in, right? And that's right. And it's a way of being interactive with the community that doesn't necessarily require me, right? Well, I mean, I have no problems making an ass of myself as a creative. I mean, I'm good at that, but you know that very well. But at the same time, it's one of those things where, again, it's the approach. I think I've told the story on the podcast before, but my favorite marketing lesson I ever got was my first book signing, and because I did everything wrong. Right, I did everything wrong. I didn't advertise it. The place was in a freaking like hole in the wall. So what I did was, I remember this. I had the owner's son print out a bunch of giant arrows, and we taped them to the street.
Nice.
People followed the arrows. People followed them. Yeah, it was one of the most. It was one of the most important lessons of marketing I've ever learned. Right? Do you know what do you think the lesson was?
To just show up.
No. Oh, that is good. Oh,
Go,
absolutely.
I guess, give
Okay.
people direction.
Okay, think of it like this. I bet you one of the problems you have with marketing your stuff is it's awkward trying to get people to buy your stuff. It's awkward.
Um, yes, I struggle
Yes.
with that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's awkward. Yes, it's awkward because it's not that I don't think it's valuable. I do think that what I have written is valuable. It's because I grew up with a poverty mindset. Really, is like only spend money on what you need and work really hard. Don't expect people to spend money on you. Have a really good work ethic. Don't take advantage of anybody, and basically like sell yourself short. Like, don't expect people to like value your creative output, and not like, and those things weren't even like actually said to me, but that's the messaging that you get as a young person, right?
So
Maybe you should sell paintings. Maybe you should sell it for a lot less, you know.
so
So that's a very subconscious, and I've actually done work. I've done like theta healing, which is like energy healing on that, which actually opened to really look at money in a different way. But it's still something that really I struggle with. And say it's more like it's less, and it's more want to take advantage of people's money if they don't have it, right? Or if they, I don't want to try to force people into buying something.
Okay.
I think there needs to be a connection, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So can I please give you some input on this?
Sure. This is my now.
Yes. So one of my first clients the first client I ever fired actually tried to get me to do their Kickstarter. I helped them market their Kickstarter because I know the layout of it fairly well. Make a long story short, I ended up firing them because they and I realized one of the things I picked out, like one of those like self-critical analyses of everything that happened, right, is that I looked at it like I was too cheap. That was why I wasn't taken seriously. So, and this is so in the work world, okay, honestly, there are few people that work as hard as a fast food worker. Few, because of how quick they have to make something, prepare food, make sure it's out. It's usually within a matter of a couple of minutes. It's stressful, it's thankless, and the reason why both of those things are true is because a fast food worker doesn't get paid a whole hell of a lot of money. And because they're not paid a whole hell of a lot of money, they're considered disposable and they're considered replaceable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so then let's flip it to
calling me a fast food worker.
No,
my mindset is a fast food worker. Is that
very much a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Oh,
yeah, right. No. I'm throwing this because you need to understand how this works.
Yes.
I actually I just did an interview. I did an interview this week on a podcast on Tuesday. And we were talking about freelancing, the value of what you're worth. And the thing is, you can charge, and this applies to you as a novelist as well and a self-publisher. You can charge what you want. I'll give you an example. There are some people that don't charge very much for their books, maybe $3. So when we go on Amazon, they're like $3, which is a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
So then there's bands like Kiss who sold their autobiography for $200.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you're rolling your eyes, but they sold over 200,000 books.
I'm sure they did, those fuckers. Because they're famous.
No, you don't get out that way. You're not getting out of that. You're not getting out of this that
I
way.
knew you were going to get me up.
It's the lesson. They believe that their experience, their time, their effort, and their energy was worth money, and they acted
Yeah.
accordingly.
Yeah.
So we have this tendency as artists to look, okay, think about all the knowledge, based skill set you have. You wrote a book, you laid out a book, you put it a cover, you did page layouts, you edited. How many hours did you put into that?
Oh my God. Like for a long time. 6 months.
Yeah,
So like 6 months part-time work. A lot. You want to try.
Okay. So a few hundred hours, right? So
Yeah.
a few hundred hours. Okay. So you've put a
Yeah.
few hundred hours into this, right? So
Well,
obviously,
not even writing it too.
You can justify this in your own head somewhere else, right? Right.
Yeah.
Here's the bottom line: you put in hundreds of hours of work on this book.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Right? And you've
Yeah.
been working on this book off and on for years. Like I said prior to this conference, I read one of your betas. I was one of your beta readers. So
yeah.
I know you put even more time than that, more than you probably care to admit. So that tells me two very important things. You care about this, otherwise you wouldn't have finished it, right? Mm-hmm. And two, you put a lot of work into it. So here's so straight up, your work is worth something because of the quality of the work you put into it, first and foremost. Second, right? It's you. If I'm going to buy a book from an author, I gotta believe they're enthusiastic. Like seriously, if I went to you, how's your book? It sucks. Do you think I'm gonna buy that? No, right? How about this? Let's do it your style. How's your book?
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, that doesn't right? That doesn't fill me with confidence, right? So you got so here's the thing. Like this is one of the most so Susie Vidori is one of my favorite authors, also one of my favorite people. Why? She is genuinely enthusiastic about her work. And it shows. And she carries herself with that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
She commands very high rates as an editor because she believes it. She doesn't worry about taking people's money. Here's the thing, right? It's just two parts of this equation. You got to believe you're worth it, and people got to believe it's worth investing in you.
Yeah.
Your challenge as a freelancer is to get people to invest in you. As an author, the same thing. They're not just investing in the book; they're investing in you.
Yeah.
So if you're right, they are right. So so you have to make me believe you're worth the investment. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say, no, right? So most of what you're thinking, right? Not all of it. I mean, I get where you come from. You want to be fair. You realize that money is hard earned because of how hard you've worked to get it, and that's valuable to know this. But beyond that, chuck the rest of that out. Instead, I mean, what is so hard to like? You said that you want a team behind you. Well, guess what? The team is going to have to believe in you.
Yeah, it's true.
So right, they're gonna have to believe in you. So why are you fighting? So don't look every day. Look at yourself in the mirror and go, look, I'm worth it. I'm awesome and I'm worth it. I mean, you won't believe it the first time you say this to yourself, but you got to have that confidence, a little bit of that swagger when you go out there.
Yeah, I do think that I have learned a lot. I mean, years ago, I wouldn't have even been able to self-publish because
sure,
I had a lot of crippling doubt in my creative output. So I think I've like come a long way, and I'm super proud of that.
Yes.
And I think that for me, it's not something always. I almost feel like it's an energy, right? I don't say I don't believe in my book. I do. I don't say that I don't think it's not worth this and this. I think it's an energy, and it's like I don't know how to shed that energy when it's because it's the energy that comes conscious belief, which is very, very ingrained from a young age. So like I can't really necessarily just strip that away, right? So that's the challenging part for me is like I have it, but I don't always know how to get at it. Right? Shut all the rest of that out. Well, but it's hard to
Okay.
shut that out when it's subconscious learning. So it's actually so as I'm doing this, I feel like I'm learning as I'm learning, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, I get, okay. So when I deal with my own bullshit, this is how I do it, right? Yeah. This is just, again, this might help you unlearn faster. This might not. So this is what I've realized. When you have this feeling of I can't, like usually there's this like almost like there's two different wants warring with each other when you go through this. So what I've made a conscious habit to try to do, and again, I don't always succeed either. I'm not going to say it's an easy process, but when this conversation airs as an audio, download it and listen to that part when I asked you about the marketing specifically. And then go very specifically at this point when you listen to that part of yourself. Where is that coming from? Exactly. Who, right? Because here's the thing.
I know what it's. I already know it's coming from my little girl.
Yeah. But there's okay. But the specific parts of it, like what that little girl is saying, when you listen to yourself that way, suddenly you hear a very different. Now that voice sounds very different. It sounds like an outside voice, right? Right, because now you're like, okay, I need to convince people that I'm passionate about my work. Again, you don't have to be in loud as obnoxious as I am. That's my gift. And I realize that that's what works for me. But what right? You don't need to be loud. Like that's the thing. Like it's not about how loud you are. It's not about how many times you. Thank goodness, right? But
I'm goofy, but I ain't loud.
No, yeah, you got nothing on me there, right? So, but again, you don't have to be. You have to find that genuine belief of what you can do, and you can't be afraid to show that belief over and over and over again because it's going to repel some people, but it's going to draw people in too, right? And as a freelancer and as an author, it's a filtration process. Your book's not for everybody, but that's okay. No. It doesn't need. It's your own special brand of ice. Think of it like ice cream. It's your own special brand of ice cream. Not everybody's going to like this flavor. That's okay. It's not about everybody liking the flavor. It's about people knowing the flavor's there and you being enthusiastic. It's like okay, I've used this example. It's like a Hallmark movie. We all know what a Hallmark movie feels like. Thing is, they just embrace their cheese. They know exactly who they are. They know right. Here's the thing, it works for them because they don't. Again, they're authentic in their cheese, right? They really are, right? They know who they are. They don't pretend to be anything else.
No, they don't pretend different storylines.
They don't, but that's not what they're not. That's not what they are. They're comfort food. They know who that like. They are literally. Here's the thing: is they are vanilla potato chips. They don't give a shit. They know it, right? They know it, right? Because but again, you got to think of it like that, right? They know the experience they are offering their people that deal with it, and they don't hide it,
Yes.
right? They just go all
Yeah.
in on it, right? And that's the thing. Like for like, there's two parts to marketing a story, and that's the story
Mhm.
itself and you,
Yeah.
right? Because you're going to come back with another story in a few years, whether it's
Oh
from
yeah.
here or right, you're going to come back with another one. So here's what you do: you want to make people to feel wholesome and welcome with you, however that looks
Mhm.
like, right? Now maybe you
Yeah.
don't do it on social media. Like how to do it best for
Mhm.
you, that might be more of a challenge. Maybe you don't do it on social media because you hate that shit, and so do some other people. But you know
Yeah.
what? You go to an event and you can be goofy Rachel, and next thing you know, you're drawing a crowd, and next thing you know, you've got a fan base, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
you're right,
Yeah.
right. That's what right. That might be where you go. Then
Mhm.
again, maybe it's as simple as going to your local library and going, "Hey, I got this awesome book. You guys will love
Yeah.
it." Right? Right?
Yeah.
And that right, it
I
could
think
be
that.
that simple, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
So something I focused on is social media, but I do really want to get engaged in my community, which there's lots of good opportunities like Mosaic and chapters. I'm gonna get some copies into them. Figure that I don't even know how to do that, but I know it's possible because I have authors. But I'm also gonna do a release party, which I'm really looking for. I think
that's awesome.
it's gonna be really. It's gonna be like my friends and whoever I just get to celebrate and like read to them, and including Devin. He's gonna
Yeah.
read, and then another local author, Sue, because I really love supporting. So I want them to come and read too, so that it's like more of a local event. And I really like those. Actually, like doing events. I like creating events and setting them up.
Eh,
So I see how that feels, and I definitely want to do
yeah.
some readings and some locals. I think it'll just be really good. I really want to do it, and it's just going to build
Yeah.
my confidence and my my
Yes.
author reach, I guess.
No, it does. Right.
Yeah.
Again, it's not about it's finding that what's your inner hallmark, Rachel. What's your inner
Yeah.
vanilla for those who,
I'm gonna ask myself that inner home. It's certainly got some goofy queer, and it's very good.
yeah, but that's the thing, right? Because again, you
It's a
gotta look
little
at this.
thirst trap too. It's a little bit thirsty.
Yeah, yeah, maybe it can be, but I mean hey, listen, that's your business. But all I'm saying is, all I'm saying is, right? You gotta look at like what brands do and what people do to
Yeah.
promote themselves, right? So, and
Yeah.
what I realize is it's really about just being there, being consistent, being flexible,
Yeah.
and just going for it, and that's all it is. It's not rocket science in any way, straight or form, but it does take time and it does take a little effort, and you got to find your audience. And you'll hear this from a lot of authors. They're like, how do I find readers? And when I mentioned marketing, they get that look you had when you first said it. They get like that dread. It's like, ew, right, right, yeah, exactly, right. It's like, ew, but you got to do it. Right, 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 right. See, I'm fortunate in the fact that I've built this little platform for myself,
Yeah.
right? So I so
Yeah.
I have a big mouth that lots of people all over the world listen to. Hi world, it is me. This is really who
Yeah.
I am, right? Right. So, and that's the point, right? You have to realize that, like, you got to find what works for you. Now,
Mhm.
my show constantly evolves. Next year, how I do the show is going to be very different once I break 1,000 episodes. But
Yeah.
that's but I mean that's the point. I'm looking to constantly evolve my platform and
Yeah.
grow it, and and,
Yeah.
and put the work in and kind of see where it all goes magically, hippity hoppity doopity, right? But in so doing, I'm doing it, but I'm also doing stuff that feels very true to me. I'm doing a karaoke thing. I'm going
Mhm.
I'm going to put your songs on the air, and people are going to be like, "Yes, I'm in." I'm making it fun because that's actually the
Yeah.
lesson I was hoping you get to.
Yeah.
What make this fun for you? If you
Mhm.
make
Yeah.
it fun, right, you'll enjoy the like. You have to do it, right? So if you got to do it, find the most fun way that reaches people. Make it. Don't try to make it complicated, right? Right?
Yeah.
Try to make it like, okay.
An example of that was, oh, sorry. An example was yesterday I had my live reading set up on Instagram, and like I'm gonna be honest, I do not do well with readings. And this is why. Because I don't feel that I can be really goofy and silly, and some reason I just lock up. And it's something that I want to get better at, and I know I will. It happened to me last night on the live. Like, I read a book. I read the first chapter of my book. I just, okay, I'm done. I think it was like 50. Well, but then after that, while I was setting up for the live, I had been like taking a bunch of videos just randomly to check out the lighting. And I ended up getting a bunch of videos of me being really silly and goofy, very comfortable, just like doing my thing, being very to who I am. And so I ended up, that live didn't feel like it went very well. You know, of course I can get it did go well. It's just I got in my head about it. But then I putting a little like video together of me being really goofy, setting up for this live, like put a like what introverts go through to get ready for a live, and that felt really fun to me. And so I put that on my Instagram, and I got lots of like feedback. And I think that it helps because it helps people to see is behind getting ready for these things, right? Like there are things that are expected. Reading is pretty expected, you know. You're expected to have a website. You're expected to have, you know, information about your book, where to find it. You're at live readings, but that is also really fun to have that, like, to me, that content. So that's something I do enjoy on the social media side. And I was glad that I actually had both. I had the live where it was like, it felt not as comfortable for me, but then I had this little footage I didn't even plan that I was able to share as well, that actually seemed to connect with people, right? So that's an example, I think, of something that I'm can tap in comfortable with, and then something like maybe it's not working, and that's okay. That's fine. And it doesn't have to, right?
Well, no, you're gonna try something. Not all of it's gonna work. That's just how it goes, right? Yeah. So I mean, that part of the fun is figuring out what does and doesn't. But what does work for you, whatever that looks like, you do more of that stuff, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna get ready for my event, right? And maybe you do like tell a really terrible story, like, you know, you get ready, you're goofing off, having time, and then you're like at the end, oh shit, I forgot my book. Well, folks, that'll do it today. Bye-bye, right? Right? Something. It could be that lame. I'm not encouraging you that lame, but the idea is,
no, I'm not that.
Or you can just do something like, again, I like doing silly shit for the sake of doing silly shit. So one of my little promises next year to myself is I'm hoping to be in the same event. There's a comic book artist by the name of Caitlin Smith. Right? She has like the evilest scowl you'll ever see. The first time I saw it, I was like, I went to her. So listen, here's my wallet. Here's my card. Just don't take my lunch money. And she just broke down and started laughing. Right. So I had this little gag in my head. Okay. Because I live I'm Canadian. She lives in near Lansing, Michigan. So if I do a thing, I'd actually have her shake me down. But the real joke here's the real joke. She goes to pick up the money. She shakes down and it's Canadian. She's just right. So again, you're laughing your ass off. You can see the story I'm telling, right? Here's the thing. I'm marketing Caitlin Smith. I'm marketing myself. Like, this is marketing, right? It's just done in a way that's not. I don't always have. Again, you have to have a place for them to go to. But what the idea of marketing is really trying to do is, I know your face. I know what I'm going to get. I know what I expect, and it's going to be awesome. That's it. That's what all marketing does. Right? So
go read my book.
Yeah. Go buy my book now. Or she'll come after you. She'll come after you.
I need money.
Yes. Give me money. Tears. Right. But I always say, okay, so
poor. Put all my money into this. Please go.
See, that's the worst thing to do. That's the worst thing to do.
I know.
That's
I'm kidding. I didn't put all
that's
my
the worst
money
thing
on
to do.
this.
I need the
I'm
money.
very
No.
intelligent.
Yeah. So no, go one step further. Go one step further. So let's go back to the publishing thing. Big
Yeah.
house or little house? What's your dream? The big house or the little house?
To live or
No. I'm talking about publishing houses. Because see, I have a thing.
Oh,
Since we're talking about, I said we're gonna go back. I wanted to come back to this because
yeah.
you said you still want to be traditionally published, which is cool.
Yeah.
I have a. I tell every author there's no right way anymore. But since the way you want to go is through
Yeah.
publishing, like, what's the dream?
Yeah.
What's the dream?
Yeah. So I would like to work my way.
Okay.
I'm fine with going hybrid, small, because I think that there's a lot of value and a lot of work that goes in, and the people that are behind smaller presses, I think, are very passionate about it. And so I would like to publish with a smaller press, specifically like a queer friendly, because there's a lot of hybrid smaller presses that are queer, right? That specifically publish queer romance or queer fantasy or queer expression. So, and then I want you to write. So eventually, I'd like to get a top 5. Random House would be great. Or I think Tor's got some great queer art represent. So yeah, it doesn't have to be right away though. I'm like, it's the long game. It's not this like I have to have it right now. Like I've already been investing in this for 5, well, longer than that, 10 years, in the sense that I've been writing and I've been wanting to publish for that long.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a work my way up, and I'm okay with that.
So I'm this is my wish for you then, traditional publishing. This is what I wish. Okay. I don't personally care if it's a big house or a little house. I think you would I hope you don't take this the wrong. I think you'll do better in in a smaller house than a bigger house. Not because I don't think you're a great writer. I just think it's the right. So I have a friend of mine. She's a published author. She's got like 4 traditional books, and she was like, she went, and I kind of see. She was like, I had these big house aspirations, but when I got to the big house, it wasn't what I would imagine it to work out to be. I found smaller houses really treated me really well, and right, because again, I think like for me, traditional publishing, what excites me isn't really the big 5 or big 4 or big 3 or whatever the hell it is at this moment in time. It's the smaller houses that are going out of their way to really build authors and relationships. And there are some big publishers that still do that, but they're less loved. When you get to the very top, it's a different world, right? So yeah, it's a different world. So
my goal is to get the team. So I don't necessarily think the team would be available in a bigger publishing house, just because they have so many authors.
Well, they can if you crack, like I said, or here. Okay, so then your goal should be, I'm going to crack #1 on the New York about the Times. That's your goal. I'm going to crush that motherfucker. That New York Times, it's going to be mine, right? And I say it like that because if you get that, then you'll get a team. Even for a big house, big houses will put teams behind you for that.
True. Yeah.
So okay. So Rachel Neale, New York Times crusher, best-selling author.
I don't feel
it's going to crush
like I
the
need
list.
that. Right?
Oh, hey, listen. I
don't need to be. I need to be. I want the community of it, right? And that's what I mean about a smaller press. It has more of that community of that really like.
Yes.
We want to support you, and we want to include you in the process as well. Like I've been looking at, because I've finished a sapphic romance, which I'm trying to talk about because I just don't want to. I'm just not going to say anything too much, but I have been in contact with some been in contact, and the good feel get are like, hey, we want you to be a part of this process. We're going to come up we're going to come along to really like support you and make your voice in, but we also obviously have certain requirements that you have to meet, you know?
Oh yeah.
So I think that like it feels more like homey, right? It feels like we want to like get you to continue doing this and work, and then I also get them, and it's like a local community. That's a local community is like you, then people give, and then you get, and it's this collaboration. I really want the collaboration of creativity. That's really important to me. So I feel like smaller presses, that there's in traditional publishing with smaller presses. I don't know about bigger presses and bigger publishing houses because I've never worked with them. I record 1 second.
No worries. And this is why I always enjoy chatting with Rachel, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, get back.
Because my battery dies.
Everybody's battery dies.
Yeah, because I'm human.
It's all good. This show has been held hostage by a 3-year-old. I mean, I after that I can survive anything. So.
Okay, what were you gonna
no,
say?
What I was gonna say is what I'm hoping for you when it comes to publishing is you will find the right people for you. That's it. That's all I really hope for. And don't settle for it. And I think the big lesson I tell everybody here, and as I say this, wondering how things will work out tomorrow. Some things for me, right? You don't. The big thing I realized in my life is really about finding, the right like whatever that magic quarter is for you. Like they talk about freelancing, you don't want pennies and nickels and dimes, you want quarters or loonies or toonies, and if you're Canadian, you're loonies or toonies, or if everybody else it's quarters, right? You want high quality people, you want high quality work, you want to do, like, you have a belief in quality. And it's true in this world that if you have a quality work and people recognize it for what it is, they will give you the money for the quality. That's just how it works. And if they won't, then either it's because they can't or they just aren't good people, right? And so, I think a big part of this journey is the filtration process of good and bad, and figuring out your own bullshit. That's the other that was the big thing for me. It's like, what can I do to get in my own way, and how do I not do that? Right?
Yeah. Totally.
Rule 5. That's my 5th rule.
Yeah.
So the 8th rule is get out of your way. That's my 5th rule. Get out of your way. That's the PG version of it. The full version is get out of your fucking way, right? But I mean, just again, this podcast won the Aurora. My first Alice story got nominated for the Alice. So I got recognition, which is I'm grateful for. Even though I realize it's not in and of itself, it's not the way that people think it is. I think, but it's cool I got the rewards. And I say it like that. Because again, I'm doing good work. That means someone somewhere out there is recognizing my work, and that's a cool thing and a good thing, and that's awesome. But so if I'm gonna get these opportunities to meet these really cool people and do this really cool shit I'm doing, what can I possibly do to get in the way? Right? Right?
Yeah.
And then how can I thwart myself? How do I thwart myself? And what can I do to get out of that? And again, that's a process.
Yes.
That's a process. And so and recognizing your strengths, your weaknesses, and again, knowing thyself, basically. What am I good at? What do I suck at? How can I just get better at it?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
And that's the process. So rule 5, get out of your way. Right? I think a lot, and because if you can avoid self-sabotage, right? You're not always going to win every battle, but the objective is not to lose. That's the thing. The objective is not to beat yourself. Yes?
I have a self-sabotage story. Would you like to hear
Okay.
it?
Sure.
Okay. So I wrote a novel 10 years ago and was happy with it. Submitted it to a publishing house. It was a small press. It was like a chance only imprint. Did them right away. Got like overthought it, panicked, pulled the submission, and said to the person who was reading it, I'm gonna revise this book. They got back to me and said, please resubmit it when you're done, because we were reading it and it was positive. So instead of just waiting time, letting it be, but literally what we're talking about right now, I self-sabotage this, I'm out of here. This is too much pressure. And I pulled it. I never revised it. I shelved it. I could have had a publishing deal when I was 20. Now, I don't know for sure if it would have worked out or not, but that is such a prime example of self-sabotage. And I know I'm not the only one who's done that. I know
I
that
know
I'm
you're
not
not,
alone.
but I'm.
It's terrible. I know. My greatest mistakes. However, that same book I did revise this last year. Loved it. Was like, holy shit, this is. I'm swearing a lot. This is such a book.
My bad.
Why I like, why didn't I just do that? I was able to reflect on that, revised it enough, and I'm now submitting it. So yes, I self-sabotaged 10 years ago. I don't have to do it now. It's still a lovely story. I took the time to put some review into it. It's even better now. And now I'm submitting it. Why not? Get out of my fucking way.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a real question?
Sure.
Do you still know the people that you submitted it to?
The one I lost because I cannot remember who it was.
Oh,
it was
shit.
an online portal. Oh, it was an online portal. And then the other person who I had talked to somebody else and had said, when you finish revising it, send it. I hadn't submitted a different piece. And then she had said, this is what we're not looking for this, but if you have something that's like has less genre complications, because there was a lot of genres submitted. So then I recommended this one that I was just talking about, the one I revised. And she said, once it's finished revising, let me know. But that is no longer working at that company. So I haven't submitted to them yet, but I want to.
So what you should do is you should find that person. Because even though they may not be working for that publishing house anymore,
yeah,
right, they might know somebody, right? Because again, and here's the thing: if you go in on their word, you actually have a better chance.
But do you think it's too long, like 10 years?
No. Here's what you got to do. You got to do a mea culpa. Here's what I say. Here's what you say. Listen, about 10 years ago, I was silly. I was silly. I was afraid. I was stupid. Right? Right? Listen, whatever it takes for you to again acknowledge. Like that would be how I would do it. Now you may have to. The last one, that one I would say, right? But you may not be you. But I was afraid. Is as honest as it gets, right? I was afraid and I wasn't ready. There we go. That is as honest as it gets. So you go to them. Hi, listen. I know it's been a really, really long time, and that's my fault. I was scared and afraid. That's also my fault. And I realize if you don't want to help me, I understand. See what you just did? I just did there. I just said if you said no, I'm good with it, right? So the next thing you got to do is. The next thing you got to do, then once you have that all nailed down, is She might go back. She might go back to, hey, I remember this story. I wondered why the hell you didn't submit this, right?
Yeah.
And she might go like that, or she might, I don't know who the hell you are, but I mean, you haven't really
You never
lost
know.
anything, you right? You never know.
Yeah.
So you go out
You never.
there, and then you go to her. Listen, I know you don't work there anymore. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone that would be interested in this? And just go out of her like that, and she'd be like, she might be like this. Well, I got this amazing Rolodex right here. Try them or them.
Yeah.
And suddenly you have an into a place you might never have expected. Right?
Yeah.
And she right? So I mean again, this is a business very much about who you know too. So
Yeah.
you have to understand how to get an opportunity to have a dialogue. The opportunity is you get in the room and you'll knock their socks off if you can get them in the room. So the trick is, how do you do that? Right? Well, they're already interested. She was already interested in you because she wanted you to submit again and you didn't for whatever reasons. Right? But she was already interested. So if it's a really good story, she has not forgotten it. Right?
Yeah.
She hasn't forgotten it. So she'll be like, okay, I remember this story. Might have all the details memorized. It's been a decade, but it's a good story. So you go, this is what you do. This is how you do. Again, you treat this. People are the same. Doesn't matter, right? Who they are, whether they're agents, publishers, they're the same. They want good stories, and they love good stories, and they're right. So you go out there. You go, okay. How do I present myself? Again, be humble. Own your stuff. Be humble and accountable, and that will potentially open door. And if it doesn't, right? One of
Honestly, worse to self-sabotage. I actually think it, because I've already, I think that's the worst. I have nothing to lose now.
Yeah.
You can stop yourself. I feel like once you learn to not stop yourself and not get in your own way, you gain a lot. I think that's one of the worst places you can be in denying yourself what you want. So there's no worst case scenario of me choosing not to share my creativity. And so like I have so much possibility, and once I get over that, once I'm like, okay, I know that that's something I'm capable of, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to choose not to do that anymore. It's like I have the world to gain. And all of the things, like and I'm so glad that I'm doing this in my 30s, because 25, rejection felt like rejection. Now at 5, rejection feels like redirection. It's just me being like, okay, people, and that's all right. That's not my path. Okay, now it's another path. I get the universe is telling me it's not there, and that's okay. And it's the same with dating. It's like you can spend time thinking, oh, that to me, they don't. It's like, no, it just means that person wasn't right for you. They're in alignment with you, And now you get to be redirected to people who do have time for you, energy, who do have emotional availability.
Well, no, and here's the thing, right? To that latter point, both in dating and in publishing, right? The objective is no longer, when you're in your 20s, you get like, don't get me wrong, even in your 30s and your 40s, reject, your ego will take it and it will let you know. You'll be like, knock, knock, knock. The ego will go to you, that hurts, and I'm like, yes, it does, and I need to go in a room for a minute and come to terms. Now, I'm big enough man to acknowledge that. Yeah, it still hurts. I think I don't want people to ever feel like, to anyone listening, it will hurt no matter what age you're at. But the fact of the matter is, we're in the rejection business. We are. Yeah. We're going to get a lot more no's in life than we're going to get yeses. So what you have to do is you have to keep plowing through the no's until you get to the yeses you're looking for, and that's the journey. Right. And so, and again, I made that sound so simple. It's all right. Right. I made that sound so simple. Right. It is so simple.
The question is, will you accept, or will you let the hurt stop you?
Yes, exactly.
Those are the questions. And accepting the hurt is redirection. Letting it you is,
that's That's it.
just shutting down and choosing no, and that's like the ultimate. That's the ultimate hurting yourself in that way.
Well, no, like the objective. I don't. Are you into any sports at all? Any?
Me?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
It's relevant to the conversation. That's why I'm asking.
I think soccer is cool. Do I play
Okay.
it?
Okay. It does actually. Soccer's a great example. So the good teams from the bad teams. Okay. The good teams have figured out. The great teams have figured out that the objective they have going on the field, they want to win, but the way they play the game is they play not to beat themselves. That's the whole objective. If they're going to lose today, it's going to be because the other team beats them. They don't beat themselves. That's the difference. Good like in terms of talent, and it could be soccer, football, hockey, you name it. From a talent perspective, there isn't that much. There are outliers, but by and large, the gap is not that different from any team. The difference is it's the discipline, and the willingness to look at yourself in the mirror and go, okay, I want to win. If I'm going to win, how do I lose? How do I beat myself? And if you can actually come to terms with that, whatever that is, well, you can then the habit is breaking the habit of beating yourself. And if you can break that habit at least 90% of the time, right, you have increased your odds of winning. That doesn't mean you're going to win. What it means is, again, if I write a story so good that they have to reject me because it doesn't fit whatever their model is, that's not them rejecting it. They're like, we fucking love your story, but it's just not for us right now. That's one thing. The big difference is you have to come to terms with the fact, again, people have to kind of come to terms with the fact that, right, the objective is not to beat yourself. If you can do that, you're in every game. It doesn't matter what it is. And if it doesn't work out, it's not you. And that is actually oddly comforting. And if you can play every game like that, every submission like that, every piece of work like that, you increase your odds of success each and every time.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great analogy. Keeping yourself in. Yeah.
Yes, that's the objective, right? It's not, again, we all make mistakes, but the objective is recognizing, again, being as disciplined as you can so you minimize your mistakes. Do not lose because of your mistakes. Lose because it doesn't work out. That happens all the time, right? So, right? Or to quote Captain Picard and Mr. Data, he goes, Mr. Data, sometimes it is possible to do everything correctly and still lose. Right? So just do everything correctly, right? Just do everything correctly and let what happens happens, right? That's it.
Yeah. Flow state.
Yeah. So
buy my
buy her book, ladies and gentlemen, or she might hideously beat me. She might. She threatened it. She threatened me off the air. Totally. I did not. Yes, that's right. Well, I might like if when I go on the road, the first stop's Vancouver. It's not that like inconceivable. I could make a little side trip to Kelowna along the way.
Well, tell me even if you're in Vancouver, because I can drive there. I've got a vehicle.
Yeah.
As long as it's not in the winter. The winter sucks, but.
Oh no! I'm leaving. I'm planning on leaving somewhere between May and June. So I got a little time to build up yet. I got comics to sell. I'm taking care of what business I have here.
Yeah.
So that I can go to the next phase by the time I get to May, June. And then I'm going to be on the road singing to terrible, terrible music, serving ice cream and booze to various guests on the show. Yeah, that's
that sounds amazing. And honestly, of getting an RV and like, it's actually better now to be doing that because I was really looking into RV living when the pandemic first hit in 2020, and everything, I think 2020, 2021, everyone was selling RVs because no one had where to go. So the prices of RVs 1,000 more. And now you could probably get an RV, like older one, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, for like 20, 30K. And like, it's workable. It's on the road. You can reno it if you want to. It becomes your home.
Yep. And maybe I would get that. And maybe I get there in pieces. Maybe I get a really, maybe I get just like a really just a van for the first time around and work my way up. But either way, I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be on the road May, June.
I think that'll suit you well. Yeah.
Yeah, most people think I'm a kind of like a wild wanderer, so I might as well just embrace it for a little while. So
I think so. I agree. Embrace it for sure. And it's going to be a lot of fun to get to like go to all these different communities, like meet up with, like do podcasts, on the side of the road or whatever, or like in a car. I don't know where you're going to be, but it's like that will suit you so well.
So I have a friend of mine. She lives in Pittsburgh. There's an ice cream place under train tracks. We're going to do a show there. Yeah, it's
nice.
It's gonna be fun. So I also got one New York Times best-selling author to actually agree to actually come back on the show in that format too already.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah,
well,
so
I'll come back on.
Sure,
I'm happy to come back on the show.
What we'll do is we'll meet at that Silver Age, like that pulp bookstore you have there. That every time I look like I go in there, it's like my money wants to burn.
Is it?
It's a coffee shop, but it also has all like these used pulp books in there. Like it's a bookstore.
Yeah.
That's
a pretty good place. It's a pretty great little.
No, it's really good. The last time I was in, right before I was on my way to Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right. It was like my money. I actually went by there the first time, and I actually told some of the rest of the gang there, I can't go back in that store unsupervised again. It's like, why? My money will burn. My money will burn, right?
Because they have a lot of stuff. They've got actual like old books. They have used books, and I think they have comics too. I think they
do.
They might. I can't remember. Yeah, and then they've got a little like Elko back where you could like set up your laptop, and I don't know if they let you or not, but I think they're pretty open.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking. I'm actually working on the hodgepodgeness of this tour next week. I start working on it next week. I'm excited about it. So,
nice.
But yeah, no, I like Calgary. I gave Alberta a year of my life, and it was like, well, this is what it worked out. I'm going to go to the next place. And don't get me wrong, I still might be in the area because I got contract work here, like my own stuff here. But I'm looking at it realistically. It's like I'm a freelancer. I can kind of do what I want. And it's now, it's never, right?
Yeah.
So is your book officially out?
Yes, my book is officially out. I have I don't have a copy. I have a proof copy. That's what it looks like.
Yes.
Sapphic fantasy romance about a monster hunter. It's essentially about choosing to love in the of loss and monsters. So it's very.
So how close is the story from what I read to what made the final cut?
I didn't change that much. I changed I got feedback from five beta readers, and I fleshed out the end quite a bit. Gave my villain a little bit more backstory, but the beginning is very similar. Like the first good feedback on like the opening is really like sucks you in, hooks in, sort of thing. I changed mostly the layout. But so it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. I am still in the midst of designing a hardcover through Barnes & Noble, which I don't know if they ship to Canada. I realized I don't even know, but I'll probably do an ebook through them as well. And my ebook on Amazon is coming out on which is also today. So that's exciting.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to have a digital copy out too, because so far it's just paperback.
Yep.
But yeah, also my website is rachelcneale.com. So I have there. I also have my fantasy worlding manual for anyone who's the author and needs kind of a little bit more of a setup, somewhere to keep all the notes, all of your world building. That's a really great place to, a really good. It's a short version of it. Sorry?
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's my site. That's my.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So lots of cool things happening. Really exciting. It's a really good story. It's a nice, fast read. It's not too long. So, like, I predict that someone could read it within a week. But depends on how fast of a reader you are.
You can read it in a week. Wink, wink. But anyways, I can say this as someone who read the book. It is a very, very, very solid, entertaining read. It definitely sucks you in. It's an interesting love story, and it does have some cool monsters in it too. So that's what I will say. It has cool stuff in it. I think we and for everybody watching and listening, I do advertising service. Yes.
It has lesbian.
Yes, it's queer.
So anyone who's queer, you're probably gonna like it.
Yeah. So Jay Pentel So this is me doing my plug. So I do advertising service. I make video, audio, words, and pictures. If you want to advertise your book, your brand, your project, or yourself, I am the guy to do it. My website is right there for those of you that are looking for something to be done. And that, as they say, is that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be back Monday with Jeff Weber. I'm going to be doing Tuesday with, I want to make sure I got her name just right, Melissa Todd. She's going to be my guest on Tuesday. And then and then I got like a couple more episodes. Like I said, this month is a very light month in terms of streams, ladies and gentlemen. But there are a few left to go as we are rapidly approaching episode 900 right now. So I'm going to try to there will be a 900th episode before the new year. So for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you all next time.
Thank you.